Welcome back to another part in the 2D platformer series. I believe this is part 7. And as promised, we're going to be working on adding a bullet to actually be coming out of our gun when we shoot, use the attack animation, or the attack state. But I did want to do some quick cleanup as I was looking back over my code. I did notice a couple of things that I wanted to fix. The first is going to be here. We're in the stand state, and I called this out a little bit, but the stand was a little quick to fling back up to the idle state. So I'm going to do the same thing here that we do in our attack state, which is this. If this animation is playing, our stand animation, we're going to return so we can continue the animation. And if we're not, then we go idle. So this looks a lot better to me now. It's like a more natural stand and crouch motion. So I like that a lot better. So that's the first thing. The next thing is I'm taking a look at all of these debugger. They're not going to cause major issues, but they're just a lot of notifications for me that I should go about fixing. So the first one, let's go here. It says the values of the ternary operator are not mutually compatible. So a ternary operator is this one-line if-else statement. So to do this, we're just going to break it out and do if player.direction equals 0. We're going to return the idle state. And if not, return the run state. Should be able to save that. This error will go away. This unreachable code, and the way that we're calling our process function, we're in the attack state. This if else, this is guaranteeing us to return something. So this is never going to hit this. So in order for me to be able to hit this, if we're on the floor, we'd have to make this an elif player.direction. So we can simplify this a little bit and do if not player direction and if player direction. If none of these hit, now we'll get to that. We could potentially get to this fall state. I don't really think we're ever going to hit this, but we'll have that there for now. Then I also had a standalone expression. I never actually returned the fall state here inside of the run state, so that was a little bit of a problem as well. And all of these other ones are just notifying me that we have parameters that we're not using in all these functions. So I'm going to clean these up, but I am going to speed it up. If you want to follow along, you can, but there's no harm in this part of the video if you don't want to do it. Okay, and we're back. Everything, you see I get no more errors in the debugger. So that's all cleaned up, and let's move in to creating our bullet. So the way that I'm going to do this, I don't know if this is standard, but this is how I'm going to develop the bullet. So let's get into it. We're going to first create a new scene. We're going to make it an area 2D. And we're going to name this bullet. We will save this. I'm going to save it in scenes player, and I'm going to call this new folder. We'll call it attacks. I don't know if we're going to make more attacks than just shoot, but for now we will. We're going to save it in there. We're also going to attach a script to it called bullet. We'll do class name bullet. So in the bullet, we're not going to use an animation player. We're actually going to use an animated sprite, which is just better for more simple animations. We also don't have a big sprite sheet, so it's just going to be easier for us to manage it here in our sprite frames. So we make new sprite frames over here in our inspector, click into it. I'm just going to name this the default. It's going to autoplay. This is going to loop because of here. we're going to click this little grid here where we can add frames from a sprite sheet. We're going to go to our assets, our effects, and our player bullet. Hold control and you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in here. This is a new area for us to select frames. So we want to configure this so there's only one vertical row here, and there actually are 4 frames. So you can click the first one, just drag over. We're going to add our 4 frames. We go to 2D, the 2D view, and we can actually see this and just start playing it. This is our animation. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to move this up, if I can, to be... Nah, it doesn't matter. It's not laying flat on the x-axis anyways. And we are going to ramp this up. I'm going to go 10. I feel like that looks a little bit better. It looks like it's more quickly moving. So yeah, I like that a lot better. Okay, let's save that. Let's go back. Let's pause this. We're going to go back into our script here. We aren't going to need a ready function. We're going to need a process. But we also want an export variable of bullet speed. This is going to be a float, and I'm going to put this at 600. We're also going to need a direction variable, which is an int, and I'm going to default this to 1. In our process function, we're going to want to adjust the position. This doesn't have velocity because it's not a character body, so we're just going to adjust the position of the actual area. So we're going to get the position.x, and we're going to add plus equals our bullet speed times delta times our direction. This is where I think I'm doing things potentially a little abnormal. I'm going to go to my test scene, and I'm going to create a node. This is just going to be a node that contains our player bullets. I'm going to move this to be below our player for now. And the idea behind this is every time I make a new bullet, I instantiate a new bullet. I'm going to add it to this player bullet scene, or node, and then when it moves a certain amount of distance, it's going to remove itself from the scene. We're going to, down the road, when it hits an enemy, it's going to remove itself from the scene, which we need to do. We don't want to keep shooting infinite bullets. Otherwise, you're going to end up with memory problems down the road. So I want to make it so that after it goes a certain distance off the visible view of my screen, it's going to remove itself from the scene tree, which is a process that we can use for is called queue free. So I'm going to pre-build a destroy function here, where all I'm going to have to do is type queue free, and this will remove that instance of itself out of the game. So queue free, you can see what this is here. It deletes the node and all of its children, and they're all references from it. So that's what we want to do to keep, we don't want to keep adding things to our game. It will, if you don't tell it to stop, this will go on indefinitely and will never leave the game. It'll just keep adding the bullet speed times delta times direction until you tell it to stop. So that's where our destroy is going to come in. Okay, so now that we can remove bullets, we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves though, because I want to control how many bullets the player can shoot at once. I don't want them to be able to fire an unlimited amount of bullets all at once. I want to be able to control that. This could be something that maybe down the road the player can upgrade, but for now I'm going to start at max bullets. It's going to be 3. So at any given time there can only be 3 bullets in the game, which is also why we need to delete them from our scenes. In our player scene, so let's go to our player scene. Right now we don't have any reference to this bullet, right? So we have to do something. We have to give the bullet a place to spawn, or a place to actually be. So I'm gonna bring up, I think, is our shoot on 24? No, it's higher than that. Okay, so I'm gonna use this as my reference, and I'm going to add something called a marker 2D, which is, as you can see, it's just a generic 2D position hint. So I'm gonna grab this. Where is it? Over here. Okay. I'm gonna put this just right at the tip of the gun muzzle, I guess is what we're gonna call it. So we're gonna go back here, and we want to make sure that when the bullet spawns, it's on the muzzle, right? So now we need to go into our attack state. We're going to make a method. We're going to call a method here in our enter. We're going to call it shoot. So let's make this. And this is where the player bullets node on the level is going to come into play, and also the positioning of our marker 2D. We're going to do a couple things here. Before we get into actually coding into the shoot, we need to preload the bullet scene. So we need to find our player, go into attacks, bullet, drag this up, hold control. We're going to turn this into an on ready var bullet scene of type packed scene. Okay. We're going to come back down to our shoot. We're going to do var parent, which is a node 2D. It's going to equal the owner dot get parent. So what this does is this gets the owner of this entire, of all the nodes here. So even though we're in the attack state, this is going to go to the top level node, which is our player, and then it's going to get the parent. And that the parent of the player should always be, in our case, is going to be a level. We're going to double check that though. So if parent is level and and parent.has node, we're going to call it player bullets because it should be the same in every scene, or in every level that we're making. It should always be that. And we're going to create a bullet of type bullet, and it's going to equal our bullet scene dot instantiate. So we're going to instantiate a new scene. And we're going to get the var bullet position, which is going to be a vector 2. So we need x and y coordinates. It's going to equal our player, our gun muzzle dot global position. So I have a couple of things to clean up here. We don't have a gun muzzle on the player yet. So we need to rename this marker 2D to gun muzzle, and then we need to bring that as an onReady variable. All right, let's go back to our attack state. Node 2D, so it can't be of type level. So this is telling us that it doesn't think that level is a node 2D. So let's go to level. Okay, we're extending from node, not node 2D. Now that should go away. It should go away. Our test scene is of node 2D. There we go. Cool. It was just delayed a little bit. Okay. Awesome. So now we can continue building out the rest of our shoot mechanic. So we're going to get into our parent. We're going to get the node player bullets. And we're going to add a child to it, which is our bullet. And then we're going to do the bullet direction. It's going to equal to -1 if the player dot split Sprite player dot sprite flip h else one, and the bullet dot global position is going to be equal to the bullet position, which ultimately is going to be the gun muzzle position. Okay, let's play this. All right, so look, we're doing it. There's some mess that it's not flipping. It's in the wrong place when we're looking left, but we're actually doing this. But I do want to point out one thing. This is going to demonstrate why we want the cue free, and also we're on limited bullets here right now. So if we go into our remote here, we go into our test scene. This is what happens when we're adding child. We're adding children here into our player bullets. Look at all these bullets I've made. We don't want all these bullets here. This is going to get, if our level is long, this is going to be crazy, and it's going to bog down performance eventually, or it could, depending on how complex our game is. So cue free will get rid of these. We also want to make it so that if there are 3 of them in player bullets, we can't shoot anymore. So what we have to do is we need to go back to our level scene. We're going to stop this. We're going to go back to our level script, sorry. And we're going to go into our and what we're going to do inside of our process is we're going to actually, okay, I jumped the gun again. My apologies. We're going to, in level, we're expecting there to be a player bullets. So this is going to be in any scene with our player, because our player should be able to shoot in any scene. Then we're going to loop through our bullets inside of the player bullets for bullet in player bullets dot get children. So this is going to loop through all of those nodes I was showing you in remote. And then we're going to do if the absolute value of the bullet.global position. Alright, I'm going to type in this as a bullet so it knows, minus the player. Okay, so we need a reference to the player. Player.global position.x. Oh, forgot the .x here. I'm just going to say, I'll demonstrate this. We'll just do 100 right now so we can actually see this in action. We're going to do bullet.destroy. So destroy is where we call cue free. So if our global position is greater than 100, it's gonna delete itself. So look at that. Cool. I'm gonna do 500 because I think that's probably more realistic. It doesn't need to go, yeah, so it goes a little bit off screen right now. I think that's what we want. Don't want them there forever. So if we also go back into our remote here, let me bring up our game. Where is it? Here we go. You can see it's adding bullets, and then they're queuing. They're freeing themselves from our scene. I wasn't really able to shoot more than 3, even with this, but we still need to account for if there's more than 3, or we don't want to shoot more than 3. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to go to our player script. So let's go back to our player script, and we're going to create a method called func can shoot, and it's going to return a bool. Okay, we can leave the get false there. What we're going to do is we're going to get the level again, similar to what we did before. Level is equal to the owner.getParent. And then if level is level, just do our checks here. And then we're going to return whether the level.playerbullets.getChild count, so it's going to just count the children for us, is less than max bullets. So if it's less than 3, we can shoot. Cool. So, yeah, I think that gets us to a good place right now. I think there are a couple things we might clean up right now. Oh, yes, before I forget, we need to flip the gun muzzle, which also reminds me we're going to refine our sprite flipping as well. So we're going to create a new function called set player direction. And I'm going to move this stuff into here. I'm also going to do the gun muzzle dot position dot x is going to equal, we need to find the offset. So we want to be able to move it. Let's go to our player scene. We want this muzzle to move here. We want it to flip with the player. So I need to get the exact, so this is on the 26. Okay, we're on 26 right here. So in our player script, I'm actually going to create a variable called gun muzzle offset, which is an int. It's going to equal 26. I'm actually going to make this a constant because this should never change. We never want this to change. So this is going to be our gun muzzle offset. And then in order to make this work properly, we're going to do the negative gun muzzle offset if direction is less than 0, else gun muzzle offset. So let me turn on, okay, we have visible collision shapes. Cool, so now this should work. All right, boom, we turn left. All right, that didn't work. I messed something up here. What did I do wrong? The gun muzzle offset. Oh, duh, I didn't actually call this. All right, so now this should work. That's working as normal. Boom. Okay. Nice. I like that. And I think it's a lot cleaner where the gun muzzle should always move with our player. So I think this is a much cleaner solution to read up here as well. And now I think that's it. I think the next video is going to be another long one. We're going to do a couple of things. And the reason it's going to be long is we're going to add a new enemy. So we actually have something to attack. And then we're going to start making our hit and hurt boxes because we want to be able to make sure that our player can deal damage and an enemy can take damage. And also our player can take damage. So I think that's going to be another long video, but I think it's going to be a good one. So stay tuned and that one will come out shortly.